G'day, welcome back to the shed. Welcome to Flat Tank Journey. My name's Chris. I'm back in what I call my second workshop, or the other workshop. I got a couple of them. I've had a really good week, cracked right into the round tank and made a bit of progress. So I'm a bit excited about that. Everything went well. Firstly, thanks to those who watched last week. If you did, that's really cool. And I'm really appreciative of the encouragement and the best wishes that people sent me. I'd been away for a long time, so it was good to see some familiar names in the comments and people sending me messages. So that was really super. Let's talk about the bike, because that's the exciting thing. So pretty much I blew the round tank apart just the day after making the last video. And I spent pretty much 6 days slugging away at it, getting things and finding things and looking for things. Things have gone well, I'd have to say. So let's do a little bit of an update on things that I was looking for that I didn't have. I found the brass plugs that go in the end of the gudgeon pin, and that's super. I'm really happy about that. That was a win-win. I found myself a kickstart lever. I actually think it's a bicycle crank, but I think it's a BSA one. I'm not sure. Actually, it's got BSA on it. I had one that was a bicycle crank at one stage. Not sure, but it fits and it'll do the job. I'm just unpacking some painted parts, and you're about to see those in a minute, so that'll be cool. And I found my collection of cush drives. So they're pretty good. This one's the easiest one. It's held together with a cable tie. So I've got 3 of them. They all look okay. I'm going to say that I think one of them has a rebanded sprocket on it, and it looks pretty good, and maybe a new nut on the back. So that's a good result. I've been off to the bearing suppliers and ordered bearings for the bottom end. Turns out the big end roller bearings, or needle bearings, or whatever you want to call them, are 5/16 by 7/16. A little bit hard to come by. I have found a supplier in Germany that will supply them, but I do have them on order here in Australia from my local bearing supplier, and I would probably rather get them there. So, I don't know, got lots of bits and pieces and parts. I worked on the guards over 6 days, on and off, with sanding, cleaning, filling, priming, and so forth. So you can have a look at that. And I worked on painting some parts, and I worked on the tank and getting a tank liner kit. I hope you liked the video. Okay, so it's begun. I've cleaned up, put wax and grease remover on them, and given some parts of paint. I'm not getting too fussy. I'm not going over the top, but they were all primed, and now they're all painted with gloss enamel, and they look good. I really wanted the brake actuating rod to be nickel plated, but I really don't want to pay for it. So I decided to paint both ends of it black, including the clevis pins. Not my normal style, but I am cognizant that money just flows like wine. These look good. I've tried something new. I've got the top nut from the headstock, and I've buffed that back with a wire brush, and I wax and grease removed it, and I've clear coated it. I actually think it's made out of stainless, including the nut that holds the bars, and I've put 2 coats of 2K clear over it. So I'm hoping that that goes okay. If it doesn't, I will nickel plate that top nut, because I hate them painted. They look awful. Boy, I'd kind of forgotten how much some of this stuff could whip you. I'm at home in my home workshop in Colac, and I'm working on these guards, and they have whipped me all day long. it's in the afternoon now and I'm really dirty, but I have made progress. So what have I been doing? I filled the front guard again, and I'll show you that in a minute, and went over it and sanded it and filled it and made it look all pretty, and then I resanded it, and that was really good. Then something clever inside me said to me, why don't you rivet where those 3 holes were in the front guard? And that had kind of been my plan. That would hold the bracket on and it would, you know, be a nice little job. Anyway, I did it and it hasn't worked out super well. But nonetheless, here's the rear guard, and all I've really done to this is gone over it with like a Scotch-Brite pad, an abrasive pad on my angle grinder, and knocked all the surface rust off. This is just wax and grease remover, and I'm gonna give this thing a prime so we don't get any more surface rust on it. It's not bad, and you know, you can see all the brass work from the brazing that was done, and it's going to clean up okay and it's going to look good. But I'm going to get primer on it so that I can get filler on it. Now, if the sound's a bit sketchy, it's because Clever Chris left his microphones in his other workshop. And if the footage looks a bit odd, it's because you're sitting on the bench, because I left my tripod in the other workshop as well. Here's the front guard. So everything's good. The rear of the guard looks good. Got over a few high spots, or low spots, sorry. Gone over a few low spots again. Still feels a bit cellulite-y, but needs another coat of primer. And then I need a dust coat or something just to see where I'm going. There is a bit of mankiness in one corner that I'm a bit concerned about, where somebody may have just filled a rust spot. So I don't know what to do about that just yet, but I'm not particularly worried. I got the angle grinder and I rounded out these brackets that were a bit agricultural. Now it turns out they're just brazed on. How do I know? Because when I went to drill for the front bracket, it broke off. So that wasn't great. So here's the front bracket. There was 3 holes there, and I've made 3 hot rivets. Of course, couldn't find my bag of rivets, so I had to make these ones by hand on the lathe. Of course, that's after I'd spent an hour. Stop moaning, Chris. The real problem was I'd gone over and sanded the filler, refilled, resanded, had it all beautiful. What happens when you apply a mountain of heat? You end up lifting the filler, don't you? So, again, took to it with that Scotch-Brite pad, scuffed all the filler off. I'm going to prime all this, and then I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'm going to regroup and have another go. Today, well, it whipped me all day, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I am just about done for. This has really done me in. I'll get some primer on and I'll let you have a look, eh? Rightio. Out here in the spray booth, also known as the garage. Bit dirty, but nonetheless, we got primer on them. And look, I don't feel quite as grumpy. Bit dark in here, sorry. In primer, they look a bit better. Now, up close, there's lots of little humps and bumps, and in the rear one, there's a lot of corrosion that maybe you'll see, maybe you won't. Corrosion pits. The rear one's straight-ish. Got lots of little bumps and lumps where the brazing is, and that'll be interesting. I think you might see just there, little acne mark. Got a few of those. That's a pretty severe one. But in primer, they look better. And they're certainly not rusting anymore. Now here's me riveted on front bracket, and it's touch dry, so I can touch that and turn it over for you. You can see they look pretty good. Again, there's a few bumps around there that I think I'll get a little bit of spot filler and take to that with some spot filler. Other than that, you know, I did a lot of bleating about them, but they don't look too bad. And I don't have a mountain of money in them at this stage. So that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Right, classy setup today. You're still sitting on the bench because the tripod's somewhere else. and I'm shouting at the camera. I've got this red, white and blue, it's called, or original red, white and blue, they renamed it for some reason, tank liner kit. And I have had that from a previous project that didn't go ahead, so that's okay. The first job is to seal up the tank, and I've done that. I bought 8 BSP fasteners, blanking plugs, and plugged the bottom of the tank. Now, when I got this tank, it's new, essentially. I believe the backbone, the neck here, and the fillers and all that are original equipment, and the rest of it, the ends are original, and the middle's remade. Gary advised me to put a liner kit through it, so that's what I'm going to do. So the first job is rust remover, and whilst there's only a little bit of surface rust inside, I still think it's prudent to put the liner kit through it. Excuse me while I did that. So I've got about 4 litres of water in a clean bucket here, and I'm just dissolving the rust remover. After you do rust remover, so you've got to put rust remover in it for 2 hours each side, it says. So you prop the tank up on its end for 2 hours, on its side for 2 hours, on the other side for 2 hours, on its nose for 2 hours, and then leave it overnight. So it's quite a process to go through. I've had really good results. Not this liner kit. I've had one liner kit fail out of about, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've probably done 7 or 8, and I've had one fail. So that was a bit of a bummer, but anyway, we got over it. So, giving that a good stir, that's probably a corrosive thing, and you can see I've got gloves on and all of that sort of bizarre. So I'm not expecting this tank to leak. So I'm just going to hoof this in, and I'm looking down the oil cap side to see if anything's coming through, and it's not. So that's a good sign that Gary's managed to get the divider in the right place and get that filled up. So I'm going to pop some in there at the same time, checking that I've got it out of the bottom. Pretty much I have. Got a little slosh. It's pretty good. Oops. Oh, you probably lost my head in there, and this won't be the best footage in the world, but it'll be footage, and it's better than me blazing away and doing all this. After we've done that for overnight, we can come back and put, you've got to dry the tank and put the metal treatment in it. Then you mix the 2-part epoxy and you put that in it. And you really need to be looking after it for a day, I reckon. So I'm going to come back after I've done all these 2-hour jobbies, and after I think I've got it just about right. All right, one last look. So I've got the water tipped over to just up the oil pump filler neck, and you can just see it inside the oil tank. Now, of course, there's not as much liquid in the fuel tank, so the fuel tank's down about the depth of my finger, but it's rolled over to one side. So in about 2 hours, I'll roll it back this way until it's just coming out the filler neck. And then I'll stand it upwards so that it's got the bottom. Over the next 6 or 8 hours, I should be able to get this okay. It's now the next day, and I got interrupted when I was removing part A, which is the rust remover from the tank, and I had a mate here, so I didn't video. He didn't really like that sort of thing, so that's okay. And then after you take out part A, you need to rinse the tank thoroughly with clean water. I did that, and then you make what they describe as almost boiling water, which my mate who was here is a chef, so he said that's between 75 and 95 degrees, oddly. Anyway, I let the kettle nearly boil with 2 litres of water in it. You mix the part B and the 2 litres of water, and I'll put it in the tank. And you slosh it around for about 15 minutes. So I just jammed rags in the hole and sloshed around. Now the tank gets hot, and I mean hot, really hot. So I did that, and now I can't get the lid off the epoxy. I've got arthritis in my hand, so I'll need to get something to open. So I did that for 15 minutes, and then you drain it out, and it says leave the tank to dry. So it's been sitting in the sun for 15 minutes. Now I'm gonna mix the hardener and the epoxy and get those two together. Now it occurs to me there is actually tape on the lid of the epoxy, and it might open a lot easier without the tape around it. Let's see, or I'll have to get my jar opener. Oh, look at that. It opens so much easier with the tape off the lid. Now, this is about half full, under half. And this thing, I'm going to give it a good shake. And I'm going to dump the hardener into the epoxy. Just coming back to read the instructions. Shake the white bottle to mix the colour. Add the whole of the white bottle to the blue resin. Use a flat-ended stirrer to make sure the two are well mixed, and use a flat end scraper to, yeah, right. I understand that. Ooh. All right, I'm going to bring you back when I've mixed this up and then I'm pouring it into the tank. You hang on there. My 2 minutes is up, and I'm giving it a bit more of a stir. Just down the sides of the container again. Make sure I've got it all. Now, I just had a read of the instructions while you were gone, and this will stay liquid for about an hour. Now, my experience in the past is that it's actually more than an hour. It stays liquid for hours, I want to say. Oh, you scrape it off and then you dip your spatula back in. Now, better get a cloth. You need to have lots of cloths, whatever you want to call it, cloths, sitting there when you do this, because you make a mess. Now, you also need to decide which of these you're doing first, or whether in fact you're doing both at the same time. Try not to do this on a painted tank. Yeah, just try not to do it on a painted tank. I think that's what I want to say. I haven't really decided what I want to do. I think I'm going to do the fuel tank and then take some out and just put some into the oil tank after that. Now, oil clothes is good for this stuff too. Now, there is still a bit of resin stuck to the bottom, the blue, which is a bit of a blow, but let's get most of this out so that we can see how we go. Right, that's going to do. In the end, you probably have waste with this. So the bad thing about this is you need to stand it up and let it all accumulate into the corners. But you try not to get it on the filler necks, but you're trying to get it on all the seams. Now with the round tank, the seams are part the way, are on the top and the bottom and the ends. So it becomes this weird juggling act where you're constantly turning the tank, you're constantly rotating it, letting it sit for a little bit, and keeping an eye on your clothes, on where everything is. And of course, you're trying to look into the tank, which is just about impossible to look into the tank. So that becomes problematic. Now, when you tip it up and go like this, you will tip it on yourself. Have no fear that's what you'll do. But you know what? If you've got old clothes on and you're happy to make a mess, do this. It's good fun. It's quite liquid in there. So at this point of the job, it's very easy to roll the resin or the epoxy or the tank liner around in the tank and do it. I'm going to put you down now for several hours and then we'll come back and I'll tell you how I go. Oh, I've got bungs in the bottom of the tank, 1/8 BSP, and you can leave those in until after curing, remove the blanking plugs from the petrol tap holes, taking care not to damage the still, and they call it green coating, meaning soft coating, and you can't use the tank for a week. But that's not an issue for me. It'll hardly get used at all. Rightio. It's an hour and a half later, and I've called it as being good. Now, useless to put you in there, but you can see it's sitting around the filler neck, and you can see it in the bottom there maybe. It's a bit hard to see. I have taken some out of the tank, and you can see it sitting in the bottom there, and it's just started to thicken up. It says it's an hour, but I always find it's a bit more. So that container has about, I don't know, 1 centimetre and a bit in the bottom, and it was probably 3/4 full. So it all depends on the size of the tank, doesn't it? You're not meant to let it settle in the bottom of the tank, but inevitably it does, because as soon as you stop rotating it, it settles somewhere. So I'll turn that every 20 minutes, half an hour now, and I've got as much out of it as I can. I can see after about 10 minutes, I can see it pooling just a little bit. Here's my tank. It's been about 25, 26 hours since I put the liner kit in. On the right angle, you can see inside and see the bluish, greyish looking shiny material. That's the liner, and it looks pretty good. I did have a mistake. I sat the tank not quite upside down because I didn't want the stuff to pool in the bottom when I thought it was dry enough, and it wasn't. And it's run into where the oil pump slides in. So I'm going to have to get a little rotary sanding thing and get that mess out of there, because I think the pump fits pretty firmly from memory. And I've got a few goobies on the top and a few other bits and pieces everywhere. On the bottom, I've got the blanking plugs out. So I'm going to leave the tank alone now for a while. And by a while, I probably mean maybe a week. And then I'm going to start sanding it. Now, it's got a lot of resiny sort of handprints, sticky prints stuff on the top. So it needs a good sand and maybe even a prime, because where the tank straps were, you can see the paint has pulled a little bit. So it needs a good sand before I think about what colour to paint it. I might not paint it green. We'll see. Have a look at those beauties. Rippers. So the front and the rear guard. I put primer on them 2 days ago and left them hang in a very warm spot in the garage where you saw them. And then this morning I have fluffed around and put spot primer on them. So, you know, I haven't done a great job, and I've got lumpy bits and chunky bits, but the spot primer's got such a limited work time that if you go back over it, you make a mess of it. But what you can see is that it's going to fill these little pock marks, and I'm hopeful of getting a good coat on there. The front guard, it's got a lot on it because there's a lot of humps and bumps. This stuff's good if you want to put on multiple thin coats. Now, so the front guard, it's thick in places, but I'm going to sand 90% of that off. The rear guard, I did a better job of, to be honest, and it's thinner, and I think it'll come up better. But I'm not unhappy about giving all that a sand and then having another prime and another fill. It's not going to affect me. I'm not going to worry about it. I reckon they look good. Back in the spray booth, also known as the shed, the primer putty, or the whatever you want to call it, spot filler, I put that on yesterday morning, and it's well and truly gone off, and now I've sanded it black. Blocked it back, taken off the high spots. Of course, you can see I've gone to bare metal, so there was lots of dents and lots of imperfections and lots of mankiness. And now I am going to put more primer on. Why more primer? Well, you can't put the spot filler over unprimed metal. So I'm going to prime, and then I'm going to look and see whether we're to a stage that primer putty would spray on, or whether I'm going to spot again. And I suspect I'll go around with the filler again, and probably again after that. We'll see. I'm not unhappy. For only the second coat of primer and one coat of, let's call it filler, spot filler, I'm thinking it's pretty good. I can already see a little crease in the guard and a few marks where I haven't blocked the filler back far enough, and you know, you're trying to take off enough filler to only get the high spots off, but you're between the devil and the deep blue sea, and I can see one there. Generally, with guards, you know, original guards, this takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. So that's day 4. Of course, there's drying days and hardening days. Looks good. There you go. That's what I've done for the week. Or actually, not quite true. During the week, I've also been working on something else that was exciting and was right in my wheelhouse. I haven't quite finished it. It took up hours and hours of my time, but I think you'll be excited to see it, and that's next week's video. So, you know, you'll have to wait until then. If you liked the video, give us a like, share it with your mates, say g'day, that'd be even better. I got a hoot out of it last week. In the meantime, I hope everyone's having a cracking Easter and enjoy themselves. Cheers, have a good one.